Let's see if this all works. Okay. I can hear myself. That's good enough. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 4th of March. Carnival is almost over, which is a good thing. I think at least mostly a good thing. And yeah, we're going to do some productivity this morning before, I leave for Athens tomorrow morning, like super early. So no sprints for the rest of the week. I have a number of emails to answer and stuff to do during the first sprints, and during the second, we will see what I'll do then. Also at 9 a.m., the pre-order of The River Has Roots by Amanda Al-Mutar should be published by Audible, so I can start that book today. I am very excited for that. Supposed to be very short, so I mean, I'll believe that once I have it, because Audible's time length announcements are somewhat more like guidelines, I guess, until a book is actually, published. When you have like pre-orders and it says like 12 hours and suddenly it's like 10 hours and you're like, hey, what happened there? You never know. Hey, Apollo, how you doing this wonderful morning? So yeah, and then I guess I'll see what I'll read while I'm in Athens if I have time to read there, which may not be the case. I'll never know. So yeah, I finished my shorter Brigham Young biography yesterday. It's a bit more. It's shorter and it feels a bit more like a hagiography. It is much less critical of Young than the John G. Turner biography that I read earlier. That's a trick I've come to learn to recognize with Mormon or LDS church adjacent historians when they write books. And that is, of course, to stay away from any conjecture and go like, well, the historian's task is to stick to all the evidence. Now, the problem with Mormon evidence is, of course, that depending on when you are writing, you may not have access to the entire church archive. And that means that the image of a character you can create from all the stuff that you can actually, read, might be much better, much more positive than the reality would actually be. Yeah, I'm happy. I hope that waking up this early was actually something you wanted to do, and you're not forced to be up because you have to work or do anything else of the sorts right now, because that would, be bad. I'm sorry that you are not feeling good. I mean, wonderful is up for debate, but I've been awake for like 90 minutes now, and I've already had like an entire pot of tea. So I'm waking up is what I'm saying. I still need to figure out what to do with the rest of the day. I could go to the gym, although I should probably stay home and clean up the flat. My flatmate is currently in Prague with his girlfriend, and when they left everything because I guess they were in a rush. So there's piles and piles of pots and dishes I should probably wash, because if they are coming back by the end of the week and I won't be coming back until Monday, it's probably not good to leave all of that stuff lying around. So mm, if I were a responsible person, I would do general cleaning up and stuff today instead of going to the gym and all that. I had a bit of a shock yesterday. Luckily, I was fine. Like, thing is, my mother lives in Mannheim, so when I had people ask me if I'm all right because they know I'm originally from Mannheim, I first had to check the news, what actually happened, and then obviously uh, called my mother. But yeah, she's all right. I was far away from the sort of like city center where the car thing happened. So yeah, guess guess we were lucky there, somewhat. Yeah, hopefully the meds work. That like I don't necessarily like getting up early, but I've noticed that if get up early and give myself like a half an hour or whatever to just sort of like wake up. If I do that like earlier, it does lead to me being somewhat more focused and more awake in the morning. So that's certainly something I've noticed over the last year or so. I guess it helps that my mother is not exactly a fan of carnival either, so she could avoid avoid that specific thing. Yeah, I also went to the dentist yesterday. Had another one of my teeth fixed. Once again, like everything wrong with my teeth is because I broke things by by blunt force. In that case, it's yeah, my back molar that I cracked part off in a hospital in Sofia in Bulgaria, and then went on tour and forgot to ever get it fixed. Now it is fixed. So all I have to do is wait until June and then get a checkup if the bone of the jaw has recovered, and then I can get the implant. And when that is in, I then have to wait another 3 months to get uh, the whole get like a proper tooth replacement, and then hopefully things will be less awkward. But I'm very excited to read The River Has Roots. I've once again stuck very much to like way too much nonfiction reading over the last weeks, and having a fiction book that I'm excited to read is something that I should probably cherish, I guess. No, I totally understand, Apollo. That's kind of the point, right? Like, it is for a lot of us. It is very hard to stick to like routines, to schedules, all of that. Uh, yeah, sometimes getting out of bed is already a victory. And we should not diminish that simply because we are currently in a situation where we can actually get out of bed fairly easily. I've certainly been in situations where I could not do that, and I know a lot of people have been. So I think it's important to sort of trying to be honest about when we can do it and when it's when we should probably step back a bit. But it's very easy to be very harsh to ourselves and go like, well, of course I can do this right now. So why am I not doing it? And so, maybe maybe it's because you can't right now. But it's a difficult thing, I guess. Yeah, I really don't like cleaning days, but as I said, there's a lot of stuff that should be cleaned up because leaving all the unclean dishes lying around in the kitchen when everyone is gone for like a week is not very helpful. So I guess I'll do that. And I mean, I can listen to audiobooks while doing so I can get some reading done. Um, Really helps with say like nonfiction audio as well because they I need to kind of focus more because obviously fiction books have plots and stuff but are more engaging to focus while listening, and nonfiction not necessarily. So doing something with my hands, like doing the dishes, putting up laundry, folding laundry, all that kind of stuff helps me focus on things like that, which is why. why I used to do a lot of knitting while listening to audiobooks, because I'm like, yeah, something I can do at the side and hopefully focus more on the book. And then I also obviously need to, pack, ideally pack for tomorrow, because I have to be at the at the airport at 9. I need to get up, I guess, take the train at 7:30. So that will mean taking a bus at 7. Yeah, it's gonna be early. That's what I'm saying. And while I'm really good at not packing until I really, really, really have to, um, maybe packing at 6 in the morning is not a good idea if I can also just do it during the day today. Could also finally clean up the more or less empty keg of meat that is still in my room here, because so, from the last batch of meat I made, and then kept the keg in my room because it was winter and you need to have somewhere warm so fermentation happens. But it's still standing here, and it's basically empty, so I should clean it out, disinfect it, all of that stuff, so I can potentially make new meat when I feel like it, or when I can afford, you know, when I can afford the honey that you need for that kind of thing, because it's expensive. Well, I suspect those kind of roommates don't pay the rent, so I don't know if I really want that, because the flat's already pretty crowded. But we will see. So yeah, I was slightly annoyed when I came back on Sunday. I was on a birthday party on Saturday, and then saw that my flatmate and his girlfriend had left everything, because it's most of the dishes are definitely their stuff. So I'm like, I mean, all right, sure, I'll do it, but felt a bit inconsiderate. But then, sometimes people have bad days, and who am I to be mad at someone else for leaving stuff lying around? It's not like I haven't done that in the past as well. It's all good. Oh, so you are doing home brewing yourself with beer. I've never made beer. I only made mead in the past, which is much easier because you just put like yeast in, add honey, add some some kind of juice to have like a higher acid content, and then you start. Then you just wait for a while, and then you have mead. It's much easier than beer, where you have to, boil stuff, create the suit and everything. It's difficult. Well, not difficult, but more effort, and I'm a lazy person. But yeah. So, but first order of business is, of course, getting rid of the well, not getting rid, but like cleaning up the barrel, because it's like a 30-liter barrel. Those are not exactly small, and so cleaning that one up, giving it some time to dry out, and all of that is, I think, a good thing to do before I leave. And then I can find out how much, say, 10 kilos of honey will cost me at the moment, and the answer is probably too much. Um, yeah, it would be nice if I did the dishes. Also, it would lead to, having more free space in the kitchen, which is also good. Because when you when you're looking for like a new place to put down your pot, if you want to make new tea, and you have to move further and further away from, that is probably not the best way of handling things, right? But yeah, so we'll see. So maybe that's something for the rest of the day: getting some reading done, and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and packing. I also need to find a backpack for tomorrow, because my usual backpack, and the One of the straps tore, and I still haven't fixed it. It's not too hard to do that, but either I fix that one or I have to pick one of my older backpacks that's probably lying around somewhere and see how much cleaning that one needs before I can pack clothes for Athens. Okay, well, pre-Reinheitsgebot. Well, I mean, the Reinheitsgebot is mostly a marketing ploy by the larger brewing industries to market their beers in anyways. So, you know, I don't see any reason to really adhere to it. I mean, in the way that it is used today, right? Obviously, back in the day, stuff like Reinheitsgebote or the kind of laws you had for the purity of bread and so forth were, well, a form of quality control. But the way it is used nowadays is just a marketing tool for both big brewery corporations in like an international competition, and of course, to give some people another thing to be proud of in a country that doesn't exactly have a lot of things to be proud of. So yeah, well, I don't feel bad about not brewing Reinheitsgebot style. All right, shall we do that first sprint, and I can go through these like 8 or 9 unread emails and see if any of them actually require actions by me. And I'll be back at the full hour. And I am back. How are you guys doing? Did you get stuff done? I sure hope so. I hope you got your tea, Apollo. I did certainly get more tea myself, and I am through most of the emails. So there's that. One of the one of the sort of like side effects of the world currently being very much on fire is that like every morning I wake up and I have like 5 different newsletters that I'm subscribed to, and I'm like, okay, what did I miss during the last like 5 hours? But I am caught up on everything in that regard. I got a friendly reminder from Fabian Nazgul that Margaret Killjoy's new book is now on Kickstarter, so there's that. I guess I'll support that Kickstarter if I can. I'll look at the prices and everything later today because seems like a good thing to do, like in general, right? So that's certainly going to happen. So we'll see how that goes. I still need to do like 2 more emails, I think. One of them is, of course, the check-in for the flight to Athens tomorrow. I should probably do that later today. I should also call the airline because if you're flying alone as a person with a disability, they have someone to take you through the gates and then the security and all of that, and also need to make sure that you're not seated near an emergency exit and other things like that. Because and it kind of makes sense in part, but it also feels like kind of fucked up. But yes, people with disability, no seats in rows where there are emergency exits, and otherwise you always get the window seat, so other people can get out before you because you may hold up other people. And you know, I'm sort of like divided on that one because on the one hand, it kind of makes sense on like a macro level, but it also like no matter what kind of disability, we'll just make sure that you'll die first or get out last because you may prevent other people from getting out. And I just assume that. See, I don't know how to fully go about that because on the one hand, if I'm not able to get to the emergency exit, and there's like 3 people stuck behind me. Sure, but if I can get to the emergency exit as quickly as anyone else, then going like, well, clearly you are, uh, you have you have less priority to survive this than anyone else. It feels less good, and I feel the problem there is that because you have like general rules and you need to make them as general as possible, they can't exactly judge and go like, well, clearly we trust you to get out of an airplane versus, well, clearly you would be holding up other people. And it's weird is what I'm saying, but it means that it's kind of hard. Yeah, I can't just do the e-check-in and then we're done, so I need to find the phone number, call them, talk to them, see what happens. And you only can do that like 48 hours before a flight, which so I'd better do it today. So that's something I'll be probably doing during the next sprint or after the sprint today, but it's certainly something I need to do. But on the other hand, the pre-order for The River Has Roots did in fact come through, so I do have yeah, I do have a new book to read now. Not that I didn't have others, but yeah. So that's the plan for the next sprint to do that. Still have to listen to a couple of messages and all of that stuff as well. So I guess I am almost busy, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that's something I've been thinking about in the past, because one of those like sort of issues is, yeah, that at least in the last couple of years, my sort of like my emotional state has been super volatile, and I'm going from like being hyperactive and doing everything all at once, and up to like the point where I crash and do nothing for a while. And ideally, I'd find a way to sort of level that out, so I'm constantly doing something. So I don't know how to deal with that, but you know. Um, I have not read German news yet, so I have no idea what happened since I went to bed last night. But maybe I shouldn't. No. Um, yeah, I mean that's another thing. Of course, there's these other ways, but like air travel in general is, of course, not exactly the best thing in the world on so many levels. And once again, it's the same thing like with the oxygen masks, where it's like, take care of your own mask before you help other people that need help. And as someone with a disability, at least with a disability that is visible to others immediately, right? People will always there's a certain percentage of people that will feel the need to help me, whether to attempt to help me, whether I want that or not, whether I need that or not. And so there is that other thing, that by being an object, or by being automatically being seen as other, you become an object, and that object, versus me being a subject, does in fact can have like negative consequences by distracting people and all of these other things. I get where that's coming from. It's just like, you know trying to deal with it, and the whole like airplane seating thing is just one of those situations where you're sitting and it's like, well, here I am clearly sort of othered by the law specifically, and that feels shitty, even if there are some reasons that may be good reasons to make sure that you know it works. Like, I don't know if I could open an emergency exit in a crashing plane. Now, do I know if other people would be able to do that? Because there's panic and all these other things. Who knows? But yeah, but I don't know. It's weird. The river has roots. From the back cover, it seems to be about a family, two sisters living next to the borders to Fairyland, and one of them falling in love with a fairy prince, I guess. It feels very fairy tale-ish. And reminds me a bit of, from just that small bit, reminds me a bit of Blood in the Mist, which I really enjoyed, by Hope Merlis. And I expect it to be a very the kind of book that will be heavily about language, because Amal Al-Mutar, beyond writing one half of This Is How You Lose the Time War, also has published a lot of poetry in the past. Yeah, some short stories as well, but she's, I guess, a poet before becoming a prose writer. So I expect the language to be like that. And then, I don't know. I just really like the title. Sometimes that's enough. No, no, all good, about all good. I think that's like the other part, is like, I am often very sort of like undecided about these kind of things. It's more about finding ways to express how it feels, because before you can before you can do anything about it and making things better, the first step is to find words to express it. That's already pretty fucking hard sometimes. And I'm trying to get better at just expressing the experience of being me. And I think that's a healthy thing for anyone, you know without like any connection to like any specific marginalization, because everyone's position in life is very unique, and finding ways to express that experience of being you, I think, it's a good thing to do. It's just not exactly easy. And obviously, reading fiction can help with that because it gives you different models to look at and learn the words, I guess. So that's sort of I think where I'm at with that in some ways. But I mean, the main thing is that I just personally really hate dealing with bureaucracy. So having to call the airline and going like, "Hey, by the way, I'm this dude that's flying there tomorrow, and I'm blind. I think you need to know that." Is sort of like a massive like challenge in a way that it really shouldn't be. And unfortunately, I can't just do the check-in and just check a box and go like, "Oh, by the way, I'm disabled. I have a disability." I really don't know if it will be my kind of thing or not. It could just be like a really it could be like a really cheesy romantasy. I just don't think that's where someone like Amal Al-Mutar would be going with this. But that's me trusting her to not write just another Akatar or anything of the sorts, right? That's sort of where I'm putting hope into this. We will see. But yeah, it could be like a very cheesy thing, but it could also be like a more like I'm hoping for the more dreamy King of Elfland's daughter, Blood in the Mist kind of approach to Celtic fairies and stuff like that. But who knows? I mean, I will in a couple of hours, right? But until then, but then and so may you tomorrow also, because I already have a thumbnail for a video about it. And if I am productive and disciplined today, I can read the whole book because it's not long. It's like 150 pages or so. I can read the whole thing and record a video, and then you can all hear about it tomorrow or whenever I actually upload the video. We will see. Yeah, I mean, fiction does expand your like should allow you to empathize with other people by just forcing you to step into other perspectives. And it does the same for the writer, right? If I want to write a character that is not me, I need to sort of envision someone else, and whether that's realistic or not doesn't necessarily. I mean, obviously, the more real it feels, the better. But just the act of trying to come up with another personality, I think, is already helpful. And finding words to put to phrase that experience is a challenge, I guess, and one that I think is important. So yeah. All right. Speaking of fiction, all of that, shall we move to the next sprint and have a bit of, well, me going through the rest of the emails and messages and at least finding the phone number for Aegean Air, which may be a challenge enough, what with websites being as fucked up as they are these days. So I'll be back around at the top of the hour, and I wish you success. And here I am again. I did, yeah, get through all the stuff, even through the messages, which is sometimes, a bit of a struggle. And I did, at least look over the news one final time for the Mannheim thing, just to, be aware of what went down there or what went not down. So yeah, no worries about the no worries about the Nick Land thing. He just recently came up in a context around the sort of like alt right stuff. I think in the Jonathan Carroll, is it Jonathan Carroll? Um, that book, Speculative Whiteness, which is a nonfiction book on white supremacy in science fiction, and I think there Nick Land gets mentioned a bunch of times. So he was in my already sort of like in my brain when you brought him up. So that's why. So no worries there. All good. Um, yeah, I did read the news about the Mannheim thing, and yeah, I love the fact that someone who has had to pay a fine for right wing hate speech on Facebook is seen as a well, somewhat with someone with no political motivation to do this, and yeah, I don't know. So I don't know what to think about that, but I think we need to figure out or come to terms with the fact that there is such a thing as political violence. Even though someone may not have been consistently posting right wing things for the last 20 years, but jumping around with their political ideology. And that is still political, even though there may have, been like mental health issues and all kinds of other stuff tying into that. But, you know, going like, oh yeah, he had to pay. He had to pay a fine for posting hate speech on Facebook, but I don't think there's any political motivation here. Feels like missing the point. I think. Um, so yeah, I guess that's just something we have to figure out as a society for the future to find a more coherent way of dealing with that, because I guess the days of the 20 years dyed in the wool neo-Nazi committing crimes are not over, but there have been, more newer ways of this kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's kind of where the stochastic terrorism stuff comes in, and to go, well, this is clearly not political, does not actually capture the dimensions of this phenomenon, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I looked at the Spiegel Online had a bit of a longer article on it, and they say that yeah, his social media stuff is weirdly all over the place, including sometimes liking clearly sort of like leftist kind of things, and then right wing stuff later on. Is like, sometimes people are bouncing around the political spectrum if they are unhappy with the world, but if they still end up in the right wing corner, then they are at that point motivated, possibly motivated by right wing ideas. It's a bit weird. I mean, to be clear, that kind of attack is something that very few people with a stable personality and stable, supremely good mental health are not doing that kind of crime. They may do racist violence, but they will probably do something that is less. Less bound to get them either killed or in jail, is my point. So clearly there is a mental health factor there, but there's also a political factor there, and they may intersect and all of that. So yeah, what can you do? The other thing I did sort of, get stuff done for the. There's a concert I really want to organize, and right now the finances are somewhat of a problem, as they always are, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And maybe we're moving forward on that specific front. All right. Yeah. Let's end this. And thanks, Apollo. And yeah, have a nice week. And yeah, I'll try to have at least like the um, uh, video for the river has roots up sometime this week, and we'll see how things go from there. And good luck with the thyroid meds. I hope they work. I truly hope they work. All right. See you guys. See you around.